Hello, welcome to Dungeons Podcast. I'm your host Justin. For our latest X-Men month review, we're reviewing the Malibu Comics, Marvel Comics crossover with Mutants VS Ultras, First Encounters. This is an 80-page comic book from '95, right? And it has a fold-out cover, right? Which is pretty cool. Where you see the different characters from the comic book fighting, right? Like a lot of huge comic books, this is not like one continuous story. This collects 3 stories, right? Prime versus Hulk, Nightman versus Wolverine, Exiles versus X-Men, right? And we're gonna review each story one by one. So in this one, you have Prime from the Ultraverse, who's this teenager who can turn into this superhero. He's kind of like Shazam or DC's Captain Marvel, right? Yeah. So if you ever saw the Force cartoon, he was which I am a fan of the Ultra Force cartoon. It's a shame what happened to Malibu Comics, but I'll say this: if you're a fan of the Ultra Force cartoon, you'll probably like this because you get the Prime story is pretty cool. So the first story, Monsters of Manhattan, Prime versus the Hulk, is written by Len Strazewski with Gerard Jones and Peter David helped plot with art by John Statema. I forgot to mention, this is cover art by Jeff Matsudo. Right. So yeah, the first story is basically because of something that happened in an earlier issue. I think they say here, Prime issue 17. Prime gets stuck in New York City, right, in the Marvel universe, right, and he sees this giant monster. He goes to attack it and he kills it because the Malibu Comics characters do not give a hoot about the number one superhero rule that thou shalt not kill. They do not give a hoot about that, right? So yeah, he kills it. It turns into a teenager, right? And here you have the villain of this book, this Wilderman, who is a scientist who experiments with gamma radiation, right? And you also get some cameos from different superheroes, right? Yeah, so it's basically like Prime is running around lost in the Marvel Comics, right? So yeah, you can see some stuff that happened in previous issues, right? And he sees this creep, this old man try to pick up this this runaway, right? This runaway street kid, right? And he's like, it's prime time, which is his catchphrase. Well, he doesn't say prime, but he does say prime time sometimes, right? Yeah. So he sees this this creep pick up this little girl, right? And it's the villain from the earlier pages. So he attacks him because he does not like it when adults take advantage of kids, right? Because he's a teenager himself, right? But Hulk shows up, and this is 90s Hulk. 90s Hulk is smart, and he sees Prime attacking this old man, and he knows the old man as a research scientist, right? So they fight, right? They fight, and during the battle, they're more gamma radiated teenagers show up to attack, and then the one dude confesses, the old dude who Hulk was saving confesses to being a evil scientist who was experimenting with street orphans or street kids with gamma radiation, and he turns into a monster, a giant monster at the end, and Prime and Hulk team up to take him down, which was a pretty cool, like, you know, crossover. The art was cool, right? Pretty cool art here, yeah. So the second story, you got Nightman here, who Nightman was one of the more popular Ultraverse characters. He had like a live action TV series in the 90s, right? Which would play on late night TV, right? Yeah, so this story is written by Steve Englehart and Kyle Hotz. Jimmy Palmiotti inked it. And Nightman, I'm not 100% sure on Nightman's powers. In the cartoon, he didn't really have any offensive powers. He can basically, at night, he can like read evil people's thoughts, and like, you know, he would punish them, right? He was kind of like a low level telepath, right? Only at night though, right? Yeah, but he's stuck in the Marvel universe, right? Because of stuff happened, and he ends up like, you know, showing up at an amusement park, tries to escape, you know, through a maintenance hatch, and ends up getting attacked by Wolverine, who's stuck. And it turns out Wolverine is stuck in Murder World with Nightman, right? Which Murder World is like this Delhi amusement park where the assassin arcade kills people with contraptions, right? This is, I forgot to mention in my Mutant Genesis review that Wolverine, it was implied that Wolverine got rid of his adamantium, so he has bone claws here, right? Yeah, so Wolverine and Nightman have a little fight, right? And Nightman has tasers in his gloves, right? After a while, they realize, oh, they're not bad guys, and like, you know, Wolverine explains to him who Arcade is, which I gotta love. I kind of love like how, like, you know, that Wolverine's like very patriotic towards Canada here. So, and like here, like, you know, Wolverine references Canada. And like the Nightman's like, so you have a Canada in your world too? Yes, we do. Best country in the world, but we ain't here for geography lessons. Yeah. So I don't know. I thought this was a cool story. You get to see Wolverine and Nightman struggle against like Arcade, right, and try to escape, right. Which one thing I did not like about this story is that they escape, but they don't confront they don't confront Arcade, which that was kind of lame. But you know, it was a cool story. You know. Here's an ad for the Ultra Force cartoon, which kind of sucks that they didn't have Topaz or Hardcase. There's Hardcase, that's Topaz. There's Prototype, Prime. I forget the other two. Yeah, like, would have been nice, you know, if they did. So next is X Over Crossover by Terry Kavanagh, Ken Lashley. This is like a crossover between X-Men and Exiles, which I didn't know there was an Exiles team that was like part X-Men, like, you know, X-Men villains with like Ultra Force superheroes, right? Called the Strangers. So it was very weird. I didn't know that comic existed. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you have like Professor Xavier's looking for his stepbrother Juggernaut. Sends the X-Men to go looking for him, right? There's this guy named Bolo. Sorry, what's his name? Gateway who has like a magic bola that can like make portals. So the X-Men gets transported through this portal, which the X-Men here is Beast, Iceman, Rogue, Storm, and Gambit. No Cyclops or Wolverine in this story. And here they encounter the Exiles, right? Which is these two characters are from the Ultraverse, which I forget this guy's name. Strike and Shuriken, and then you have Blaze, Juggernaut, and Reaper. Who, when we read X-Force issue 1, he lost his hand, one of his hands, to like what's his name? Oh my God, the guy with the 2 swords. Shit. Oh my God, I totally forgot his name. I have his card too. Shatterstar. Yeah, he lost one of his hands to Shatterstar. So he got him back, right? Yeah, and their loss. The Exiles, for people who don't know, is basically like different multiverse characters, usually X-Men, that are traveling to different worlds, being summoned to different worlds to right wrongs, and and that once they right that wrong, they get transported to a different world, have to start over again, and once in a while, one of them gets to go home, right? Yeah. Which I have like the first 2 omnibuses of Judd Winnick's X-Files, Exiles run, right? So yeah, here they're like, they're trying to get home. They go through a portal. They get attacked by the X-Men, and the X-Men think they're villains because they have Reaper with them and Blaze, and Reaper was from the mutant terrorist group MLF, Mutant Liberation Front. Yeah. So what ends up happening is that they fight. Which some cool art here. They fight. Giant monster shows up, right? And then they have to team up. They have to team up, and then they realize, oh, maybe Juggernaut isn't as bad as we thought he was. And that's the end of the comic. So yeah, overall, I really like this comic book. If you're a fan of the Ultraforce cartoon and want to read some Ultraverse comics, this is a cool comic because then you get to read like stories from your different Ultraforce characters. The problem with crossover comics is that they usually have they're a bit like repetitive, because it's just like, superheroes from different worlds meet, they fight, and then they take on like a common enemy, right? But if you don't mind the repetitive nature of crossovers, all between like different comic book companies, this is a cool crossover, and I really liked seeing like the characters from like these 2 respective companies fight together, right? Especially the Prime and the Hulk story was really good, and so was the arcade one, and the last one, the Nightman and Wolverine one, but the last one had like the most action, right? So if I were to give this comic book a rating, it's a 7 out of 10. But note that this book, is like almost $8, but I would say it's worth it, especially since you're getting like free. It's 80 pages. You're getting like basically like 3 comics worth of comic book here. Yeah, so that's it for this review, guys. For our next X-Men month review, we're going to review Wolverine Weapon X, Tomorrow Dies Today by Jason Aaron. This is actually the 3rd book in Jason Aaron's run, but I don't have the first 2, but they made a motion comic of this volume, so like it has a standalone feel to it. Yeah, so that's it for this video, guys. Also, make sure If you're a fan of HeroClix, make sure to check out my HeroClix video on Thursday. Also, we have another graphic novel haul on Wednesday, on New Comic Book Day. That's it for this video.